Cape Coast is the cradle of formal education in Ghana. It is in this town that the castle schools began, thus laying the foundation of formal education in the country. It provided the first crop of the country's educated elite, such as John Mensah Saba, J.P. Brown, Dr. Kwejir Agri, and George Akem Ferguson, who distinguished themselves both locally and internationally in their political, social, and academic pursuits. The choice of Cape Coast as the home of a new public university after the University of Ghana and the University of Science and Technology was an opportunity to reassert its pristine leadership in Ghana's education. In October 1962, the new university came into being. It was called the University College of Cape Coast, with a unique mandate to train qualified and skilled manpower in teaching for the development of the nation's human capital, a mission that the two public universities existing at the time were ill-equipped to undertake. Kwame Nkrumah's vision and plan for the University College of Cape Coast was to establish a complete university community on a large campus consisting of a variety of physical structures serving different purposes. Unfortunately, permanent structures could not be put in place before the formal opening of the college, but the facilities that had just been completed at Osagyefo Training College were handed over to the University College authorities to serve as the temporary premises. Professor Kojo Nziba Ayesen was among the lecturers who joined the university in its early stages of operations.
We inherited the buildings belonging to Osagyefo Training College. Additional hall was not this high as the multi-story apartment. No, it was just a one-story building. Ugwa Hall, one-story building. Atlantic, there was a bungalow type of building there. And then there were two structures behind what used to be the dining hall. I don't know what those buildings are now, between Adishi and Education. That building it was used as a dining hall, lecture room. And then where we have the bookshop, the top was used as a laboratory for biologists, the ground floor laboratory for chemistry, fuel science. So we had to make do with this arrangement. The administrative block was there. Now they've added something to that. And the GET storage building was there, and a few staff bungalows. So these were the structures. Some staff were living in town and commuting. I fortunately was housed on the campus where the Atlantic Hall is. They have pulled down the building and put up this Atlantic Hall, but it was one of these GET bungalows, 2 bedrooms. So that was where I started, and gradually the university expanded from University College under ACA. I think after a year or a year and a half or so, the government decided to go into science education in a big way, and they decided by changing the name to University College of Science Education.
At the time of the inauguration, the facilities which later became known as the old site comprised the administration block, the former Art and Social Sciences Faculties block, the Ghana Education Trust building, the current Adishi Hall, and the 2 Faculty of Education blocks. Behind the Assembly Hall block, administratively, the university was established under a special arrangement with the University of Ghana. The University College of Cape Coast began with a population of 155 students, with a number of the lecturers from the international community. Professor Amenume recounted the academic atmosphere then.
67, that was just a year after the Nkrumah overthrow. At the time, because Nkrumah had invited the UNESCO to help procure teachers for the science faculty. So we had lots of Indians and Pakistanis and Czechoslovakians They were the faculty. But in the humanities, where I was, it was a mixture of both local and foreign. And then when the French department was set up, also we had French lecturers being provided by the French government. It was a small community in those days, to count the number of faculty in all departments. I'm not sure, we must have been just a little over 100 staff in all the departments.
At the early stages of its operations, UCC experienced a number of political and administrative upheavals that slowed major activities within the academy and administration. Notable among them was a major challenge faced by Professor K.B. Dixon's administration. Reverend Professor S.K. Ejapon is a former Vice-Chancellor.
Dixon was trying to bring some academic sanity into the university, to set standards for promotion and so on. And the staff didn't like it, the academic staff didn't like it. Like before he came on the scene, an academic member of staff could become a senior lecturer with only 3 publications. In fact, there was a case where one person had become professor, associate professor, with only 3 publications. And Dixon wouldn't have that. Unfortunately for Dixon, the council at that time was not on his side. So he had to fight council and fight academic staff. And I don't know, he just, he was thick-skinned.
There were a number of challenges that bedeviled the university in its first 40 years of operation, from the era of Aka, Bakun, Yani Ewisi, E.A. Boateng, and K.B. Dixon. However, from the 1990s, UCC began to dream again. Under the able leadership of Reverend Professors Ejapon and Adobeng, the university made giant strides in infrastructure and strategic policy formulation and implementation. Professor Wisabo Asari is the Director, Academic Quality Assurance, UCC.
Japan stabilized the system and then exited in 2001, and then Obeng came in. But then you see, all along, headship, that is principal or vice chancellor, had been through government appointments. And events in the country generally led to the situation where now positions were advertised and people who were interested applied. So for the first time, the appointment of Obeng was through this open system. And so conflict had reduced, and Obeng came in and continued with the process that had been started by SK Japan. So by that time, the system had stabilized and peace was coming in. That's where the phrase university of choice came in, to replace constant confusion, right? So it had stabilized. So if you look at it, this has been a period of 17 years of stability, which enabled the university to dream.
Professor Ejapon's era, 1991 to 2001, saw tremendous infrastructural development in the university. This period witnessed a program to facelift the infrastructure of the university, which were in a very deplorable state. These included the library project, the 2 faculty buildings for social sciences and arts, and the communal block, which is now the Communication Studies Department and the Music and Dance Department. The success story was evident, even though some undercurrent issues needed to be dealt with. Reverend Professor S.K. Ejapon is a former Vice-Chancellor, UCC.
I became Vice-Chancellor in 1991, at a time when the university had gone through a turmoil, let me put it a turmoil. My predecessor had had trouble with UTAG and then the junior staff. So he actually was not suspended, but he was asked to go on a long leave. So the whole campus was in, the university was divided. The junior staff were on one side, UTAG was on one side, and then the senior staff were also on one side. So it was not the best of times. The university didn't have a council, they didn't have a vice-chancellor, they didn't have an academic board. 3 gentlemen have been appointed by government to oversee the running of the university. And among their terms of reference, they were to find a vice-chancellor and a registrar. Well, they happened to choose me, and I was really reluctant because I knew it was not the best time. There was no university, so to speak. UCC was, the roads were in shambles. It's a shame we didn't take pictures. The place was not, it was not attractive. We students wanted to come to a place, the avenue, the University Avenue, had potholes, a large number of potholes. That was worrying because, a university should be attractive. So I said, well, if I have the opportunity, I would go around looking for money to do it. And it was a horrendous task for me to restart a university. No council, no vice-chancellor. So anyway, I believed in God so much. And the previous year, we had prayed on this campus that we were going to convert the tag they had put on UCC as the University of Constant Confusion. We want to change it to University under Christ's control. And I believe in that.
The 10-year tenure of Reverend Professor Aduobeng, the first UCC alumnus to become a Vice-Chancellor from 2002 to 2012, saw a phenomenal infrastructural growth. His administration devised strategies which greatly improved the internally generated sources of funding for the university, such as the fee-paying sandwich programs, the operationalization of the Center for Continuing Education, and the increment in rent paid by those using university facilities. These moves generated resources for the construction of student hostel facilities, the alumni building complex, a police post, the Institute of Development Studies, the Presidential Special Initiatives, among others. Reverend Professor Aduobeng shares his experience as a Vice-Chancellor.
I took office in October 2001 from Reverend Professor Ejapon. We had serious student unrest. I remember the students went on demonstration during the most important function of the university. The university was holding its convocation, and the students took to the streets, and they nearly marred that function. Academic board set up a committee, and a number of students were rusticated. But there was a lot of pressure on the university to pardon the students. Pressure from government, pressure from Looks, pressure from SRC, and all that. So when I took office, it was my responsibility to ensure that there was peace on campus. Secondly, University of Cape Coast was then seen, I'm going to use a very unfortunate term, but it was seen as a third-rate university. Students would only choose to come and study in UCC after they had failed to gain admission to University of Ghana or Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And we felt that that was not good for us. We knew that we had come of age. And so we're going to do everything possible to ensure that we become the university of choice. In fact, that is how we coined the acronym University of Choice, implying that anybody who comes to study in the university must want to be there, not because you failed to gain admission elsewhere. So that was a drive. This was sort of thing that drove us when we took over. Besides, we had serious infrastructural deficit, which was affecting the academic work, which was affecting student life. It was affecting the entire, running of the university. So it was also a key factor that we should try and address the infrastructure deficit. And then the ambience of the university itself. Campus was dirty. Especially if you go to the science, at that time when you visited the science faculty, there were kiosks dotted all over the place. I remember in front of Kasihiford Hall, we had a couple of chop bars in front of the hall, and it did not give a good ambience to the university.
The university has undergone tremendous evolution ever since. Parallel to the rapid increase in student intake and expansion of infrastructural facilities, there have been major changes in academic facilities and programs. From 2 departments from the 1960s, UCC currently has 5 colleges. Amidst the enormous successes are also the visible challenge of encroachment of university lands. The encroachment has deprived the university of much of its lands and threatened some university facilities like the botanical gardens and research facilities within the gardens. Again, UCC has had to deal with maintaining student discipline at various times. The administration at each point in time showed leadership and commitment to the tenet of discipline. In its 55 years of quality education delivery, UCC has chalked considerable number of achievements in its mandate to produce qualified graduate teachers from an initial output of 25 to over 14,000, serving in the country's second cycle educational institutions, with an overwhelming number of them at the headship levels in second cycle institutions and various colleges of education across the country. One of the greatest achievements of UCC is the institution of the distance education program by the SK Ejapon's administration. Professor George K. Theodore is a former provost of the College of Distance Education.
Government subvention to universities started dwindling, and so there was a need for the university to find other sources of supporting its funding activities. And so the idea of distance education came up. Code is the face of the University of Cape Coast, because through monies made by the university through code, the university has been able to put up structures across the country. It has been able to buy land, all the vehicles. Code has almost 50 vehicles, and none of them was provided by government. The university bought those through the distance education program. Apart from that, Code has been a source of the university meeting some of its financial challenges and demands. And so you cannot talk about the University of Cape Coast development, you cannot talk about financial issues relating to the University of Cape Coast without making reference to Code.
There has been an incredible leap in all departments and faculties. Infrastructure development has been greatly improved. These include offices for staff, lecture theatres, halls of residence for students, staff and student relation centers, and road networks. The growth has been phenomenal. Today, the university has the capacity to meet the manpower needs of other ministries and industries in the country. The academic evolution of the University of Cape Coast has been remarkable. The university has diversified to meet the changing needs of the nation and the global world. Besides producing teachers and lawyers for the country, the university is churning out a new crop of medical doctors with a world-class training. Reverend Professor Harold Amoni Kofi is the Provost, College of Health and Allied Sciences.
The medical schools in Ghana, and for that matter in West Africa and in Africa generally, follow what we call a traditional curriculum, which is teacher-centered, and the credit hour systems, which normally in the medical schools worldwide, the world has moved on, and in no other countries outside Africa do we have the traditional curriculum. They've all moved on to what we call the modular student-centered curriculum, where a lot of the work or the whole process of teaching and learning is driven by students, not by the lecturers. So even though there's classroom teaching, there's the teacher, you have a teacher standing in front of the class giving a didactic lecture. That is minimal. Most of the work is through students' own learning activity and research.
My name is Nanakwe Jokisi Ateifa. I'm a final year student of the University of Cape Coast School of Medical Sciences. Studying medicine in the University of Cape Coast, I must admit, is very stressful. However, it's also really, it's a lot of fun and very, very involving. A lot of the studying here is student-centered. That means that we direct our learning ourselves. We don't wait for our faculty members to come to class and teach us things before we learn. That's basically how the learning here is like. And we've got two very excellent programs that help us to focus when it comes to student-directed learning. That is the problem-based learning approach, where every week as groups of 10 or 12, we are given scenarios, real-life scenarios, and we come together as a group to try and solve them. The second program, which is also very helpful and brings us in direct contact with the members of the community, is a community-based experience and services.
Regarding its social responsibilities, UCC continues to offer employment opportunities to indigents in the surrounding communities. Nana Kweku Enu III is the chief of Apeusika.
Yes, the migrant and Mfasunzi is your opponent's habra, Uncle Ni Croa Wobbo is your opponent who's saying. Jeben wage me I'm there. Igwe yenyi infringement bebre yenyi bi krope noa nti point him infringement kasa or.
The university has also established a special office with a unique mandate to reach out to its alumni. Solomon Fache, Esquire, is the coordinator for the Institutional Advancement Office.
What the university is doing now, within the context of globalization, is to engage all its key stakeholders. And through this, to achieve this, we have the vehicle to do this. That's the Institutional Advancement Office. So currently, we have a campaign called the Alumni Reconnect. And what we are doing is we are targeting 4 generations of the university alumni, from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, with special emphasis on what we have called the forgotten alumni. Through this, we know that we are achieving one of the key strategic thrusts of the university, making the university a university of choice through engaging its key stakeholders.
With a huge support from the SRC, UCC has put up an ultra-modern media house, campus broadcasting services that currently houses ATL FM, student leadership offices, and an upcoming TV station. the university has a proud past and a bright and enviable future, taking into consideration what it has achieved up to date. The vision of the university is to have a university that is strongly positioned with worldwide acclaim. This statement of where the university sees itself in the future sets the tone for every strategic decision or choice that it has made. The internationalization agenda of the university is to be visible in the community of universities that are noted for sound research. Professor Gate Ampia is a current Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast.
Last year, we committed 100,000 cities to research. This year, we've increased that to 500,000 cities, so that we have more people do research. And then we've increased the amount of money people receive for research. And we've categorized the research also. So as time goes on, we will be increasing the amount we give to research, so that a lot more research will be done in the university.
The leap into the future is exciting, and all who are affiliated to the university must put their hands to the wheels to roll it forward. Let all the sons and daughters of UCC therefore rise to the call.